Hello, Algebra 2 teachers in our Milwaukee Public Schools Math High School family. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I wanted to give you a quick overview of how to be successful in Unit 1 in Algebra 2. There is a lot of confusion between Springboard and non-Springboard schools. So if you are a Springboard school, your Springboard pacing guide does not align well at all with the illustrative math materials. Algebra 1 and geometry are much more aligned. Springboard and illustrative math, Algebra 2, not aligned. So you are going to want direction from your building principal first and foremost, on what curriculum you should be implementing, and then reach out to Gail Saylor, the Springboard math coach. And then, I'm more than willing to help clarify and work through those questions with you. But this overview will look specifically at illustrative math materials. And if you are Springboard, it is likely not the resources that you are using. So just want to keep that very clear because there seems to be a lot of confusion around that. So let's get into the illustrative math, you non-Springboard schools, you. I'm so excited. So here is Unit 1. And because we are all so good at backwards design, we know that the first thing we are going to do is look over this common assessment. And you will find what you need there, as well as the CABS, which stands for previously classroom, but now common assessment based on standards. And so this is for you and your math departments to take about 15 minutes for your students to check in with how they're doing on these particular standards. And I strongly, strongly recommend that you have students grade themselves using this district math rubric so that they start becoming familiar with ownership and evaluation of their own learning, and then having that discussion, well, what would I need to do if I'm a basic to move it to proficient, or if I'm proficient, what would I need to do to move this to advanced? Have those conversations, with their peers. You can start with examples and say, where would we put this? What would that person need to do to move to proficient, to give teachers students a lunch point? And that is something that obviously needs a lot more explanation and a lot more thought on how to do. But the point of this training is to get into the illustrative math materials. Please email me if that is something you think you're ready for. I want to get you up and running with illustrative math before I start worrying about these rubrics, but that is my next project that I'm so excited about taking on with you. So back to the Algebra 2 guide. So you can see that we listed the standards that are in Infinite Campus right there for you. And you can also see which ones are highlighted as priority, supplemental, or not priority in this first unit. And now that you've looked at your common assessment, you've looked at your CABS, you can click on this link right here. It's the old instructional guides. And this will give you more guidance on successful implementation of the illustrative math lessons. You're going to have to scroll down. It will tell you what standards are with the lesson in this one, and just give you, a little more explanation as to how to successfully teach these lessons. So that's right there in the CA1. And then now you're ready to actually dig into the lessons. So this is Algebra 2, Unit 1. This is your unit overview right here. And then let's say we click on a lesson. Okay, big confusion here. Big confusion. You will see that you have a ton of lessons and only like a couple days to do them. That is because in Algebra 1, students spend a lot of time in arithmetic and geometric sequences. And so it's not a priority standard. So we did not spend a lot of time of that in Algebra 2. It's like kind of like a recall, get your students going kind of thing. So don't feel like you need to do all of these fully and then be behind, like pick through the lessons and see which activities you think would be good to acclimate your students to the idea of arithmetic and then geometric sequences. Don't feel like you need to teach all these lessons. That was not our intention. Like lesson 4, using technology to work with sequences, probably not a really big deal. But then getting into that lesson 5, sequences are functions, right? Because our first unit is about building the idea of what is a function. And then we go from the recursive to the explicit formula later in the unit. So it is written to be reviewed. And since we do so much of that in Algebra 1, we didn't think it was necessary to spend a ton of time on those first couple lessons. But the first one is cute. It's very fun. You can pull up that one. Again, you will choose which ones and pieces you want to do, but they need to be pulled from the illustrative math lessons. So this is your overview. It gives you your learning goal. That's your learning intention, what you need to do to be ready. Success criteria is your learning target. So I can give an example of a sequence. You have some really, really excellent tools right here. These are not live links. Oh, Lord. Sorry, guys. So lesson narrative at the top, learning goal, learning intention, success criteria, learning targets, what standards am I working on? And then black line masters are the manipulatives, the tools that you're going to need to do the class. So if this is a lesson that you choose to do in that first bunch, you have to print up those black line masters and cut them out for students. Student task statements, that is because we do not have a textbook to go along with this, you can do a PDF version or a docx if you want to cut things out. The cumulative practice problem set is additional practice for students. Where I always go next are these additional resources and click on the Google Slides. So I literally use these for Algebra 2 all year. When we were virtual, I would click on it and take a screenshot of the slide, post that in Desmos, and that's what my students and I would work through for our scheduled class time. The warm-up is right there. You have each of your tasks, and then the activity synthesis. This is the putting it all together. Sorry, the lesson synthesis. I need to be very clear with that. The lesson synthesis is putting it all together for the unit. The learning target is that success criteria they have at the end. I would always put it at the beginning and the end so we can ask ourselves at the end, did we do it or not? And then the cool down is the exit ticket. So how do I know if my students got it or not? Have them do that cool down. Make your instructional decisions for the next day based on what students are responding to, what common misconceptions do I see, just as you know in your excellent teaching practices. I did it again. Guys, learning goal is your learning intention. The slides are all here. You always have a warm-up slide. They're often a notice and wonder. Lesson synthesis is when we put the whole lesson together. Learning target, success criteria, put it at the beginning and the end. Cool down, exit ticket, formative assessment. Did we get it or not? So every single lesson has that. I would go through that next to make sense of the big picture overview, what is happening in this lesson. And then to get really into it, that's the how. How do I do this? So for that, I would look here. Each activity has its own launch and its own activity synthesis. So how do I get students doing this? It'll tell me specifically how to set them up. This one says arrange in groups of 2. It talks you through misconceptions, it'll give you questions you can ask students. And the activity synthesis is, what do we do to put this together? Excuse me. The instructional routine, we will get into this together. I'll show you where to find those. So that is it's a very structured curriculum, right? So how do I do a Notice and Wonder is always the same. How do I do a Stronger and Clear each time? It's always the same. So I'll show you where to find information on that. But this is like a heads up. Here's how we're going to be doing this problem or task. You've got your activity. It tells you how to set it up. You've got your lunch, support for EL students, support for students with disabilities. What do students actually see? What are sample student responses? The Are You Ready for More? Some of these have it, and it's an extension. So if your students got everything, then they're now showing their proficiency with the grade level standard. If you want to push them a little further, here is that. So it's not like taking it to the next grade level standard. It's just extending that idea. And then you come to this activity synthesis. So it's very specific on how to bring everybody back together to make sure we got the goal of the lesson. It tells you exactly how to do it. Again, same supports built in. And you've got your optional activity there. So I will show you how to find the in your lesson synthesis. So how do I put this all together to make sense of the whole lesson? So if you follow the teacher guide here and you just do what it says, like ask this question, put students in groups of 2, do this, you are following the instructional routines. It will set it up for you. But just so you know, if I go back to Algebra 2 and I just click on Algebra 2, I can go to the course guide and that will give me the instructional routine. So what is it when it says, Notice and Wonder? It says analyze it. What is it? What does that mean? What does that look like? So descriptions of how to do each of these different routines is there. Stronger and Clear is a great one. Collect and display, sorry. How to implement those is all articulated here in the instructional routines. And this is your, teacher guide of how to use everything. So the scope and sequence, right? The standard lessons by standard and standards by lesson are all there. So that is where you can access lots and lots more resources. You've got your units, the story of the unit. Each lesson has a story of the lesson. And then you just follow it. It'll tell you exactly what to do. So good. So that is what you have. We've just got a real quick unit 1 right here for Algebra 2. Very excited. And let me know how to support you. My email is willi148@milwaukee.k12.wisconsin, wi.us. And I'm here to help. So thank you so much for your time, your attention. I am getting with all of my different math departments as quickly as I can, but do not hesitate to reach out with your specific questions as well. We can do this. All right, you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care.